that happened at the Windjammer. Okay. Our police were understaffed. And I don't know if the public knows, but our firefighters had to come in and help secure the situation. I'm glad that everything ended up semi-okay, but they should never have been put in that position. Okay, I think it opens the door to such unsafe situations on the island when everybody's in one place. Okay, and I don't know where your commitment is to the level of the safety of our island. So with the interest of time, this meeting, I'm going to talk about the fire department. They have come to you in numerous occasions and within the year, if not longer, with their needs. They're experts in the field with their needs, and it's fallen on deaf ears. And the only thing I can equate it to is, how would you like to come to work, not knowing the situation that you're going into, not having the tools to do your job, and not having the team members to fulfill your job effectively? I feel that that is the everyday of the island firefighter. Okay. So just engage me for a minute. And this is how I look at things. And I just would like you to see it differently, or at least from my eyes. 10 or so years ago, our family was in a hotel fire. Completely looked at the situation differently. Not only do I pick my airline seat differently, my hotel room that I book differently, where I sit in a restaurant, or where I stand in a public venue. Okay? How else it has affected me is how I see things. When I go to Wild Dunes, I see a hotel that has limited, that the way it's configured, I don't know whose responsibility it was, but how it's configured and how a fire truck, how close it can get to the hotel. Doesn't matter if you have a 75-foot ladder, 100-foot ladder. When it's at a 45-degree angle, if a fire truck can't get close enough to a place on fire, you lose a lot of length, right? How else it's affected me, and what else I see is when you have, our island has grown. We have all these big homes. When you have a residential home that is being run as I think there's somebody running for council who has a home that is on a wedding venue, right? Advertised for a wedding venue. I don't care what people do, but if the city doesn't know that this residential home is run as a commercial entity, if you will, firefighters don't know. And that's putting them at risk, because how that affects, why is that important?
Ms. Nessler,
Yeah.
code says that you have 3 minutes. I've given you 5, almost 6 minutes. Is there any chance you could, I understand what you're saying is important. Is there any way you can wrap that up?
Okay. If you will engage me until I finish, that would be great. And I will do my very best. Okay. Will you?
It's up to the mayor and council.
We will,
Thank
because
you.
we don't have many speakers
Thank you.
tonight. And yes, please.
Thank you. Okay. And again, I'm terrible at public speaking, and I'm doing my best. So I talk about the hotel. I think it needs to be looked into, because if my calculations are right, the people on the top floor, I don't know how a ladder is going to get to them. Hope they can jump, really. You know, on the backside. I'll show you where if you're interested. How it's important for firefighters to know what they're getting into on a daily basis is in my experience of being in that hotel fire, has enlightened me to their job. How they approach a commercial fire, how they approach a residential fire is completely different. Okay. So when I see our services, and I'll be quick, when I see our services working at a deficit, not only do they put their lives on the line and they're at risk, but mine are, my neighbors, and our entire community, and all the visitors that come to our beautiful island. So, fact, our fire department runs with a staffing of 10 firefighters per shift. Okay. And now, correct me if my math is wrong, but I'm getting this information from the National Fire Protection Association. Okay. We should have at least all 4 trucks staffed at a minimum of 4 personnel. That would put 16 people plus 17 when you count a battalion chief. That would be the bare minimum, according to this fire protection policy. That's the bare minimum of being there for a single family resident, 2,000 square feet, okay? The sweet spot is between 22 and 26, and that helps with your strip malls, right? The commercial entity of it. So if we're understaffed, these firefighters have to make a decision. Do you put out a fire? Or do you do search and rescue? And God forbid, if another firefighter on shift of that 10 get hurt, then we're down, okay? Our island is growing and it's not stopping. Do you know what a fire truck shutdown is? I've experienced it, I've seen it. The definition of a fire truck shutdown means that if you have a ladder, an engine, and a rescue, but only have enough firefighters to run a certain piece of equipment, then you will man the truck that is the most valuable and shut down the others. So when our fire department is not adequately staffed, all the equipment in the world, it's not going to make a difference. I don't know where your alliance lands, but when it comes to public safety, that I think is the most important thing. And our services are the core of our community. And I really, really do request that you take a look and you see it from my side, who's been in a hotel fire, and hope that nobody else has, but that you see it from my side and my eyes to see what our fire department needs. And next month, I'll be speaking on behalf of the police. Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
That was awesome. If you say so myself. And thank you, Mayor, Council, City Administrators, for your graciousness of showing my wife that she can speak. I have a lesson to be learned on that one. I'm going to be a little bit more global, and I'll try to make up the time, Nicole, if that's okay. It's been quite the number of years, these last 2 years with COVID, losing family members, people who we know and love. But this is really directed for our future. This is directed for the future of the city, where Mayor Hoosier, Cannon, or Council Member Pounds, or whoever's running, or the myriad of citizens who are running for City Council to step in. The message here is to listen. Listen to your constituents. Continue to listen to your constituents, because the last several years, it has been observed in print with words that were hurtful and harmful, that City Council, almost all of you, and Mayor, yourself, addressing this to everybody, you need to take the time to listen. Listen to your constituents. Listen to the employees who are telling you something. Work with other agencies. Develop strong relationships with our surrounding municipalities. Stop the senseless and defamatory practices of demoralizing your fellow citizens. Stop agenda-driven policy efforts. Stop coalition building. And by its sheer nature, it will stop destroying the characters of longstanding businesses, those who run them, and those who are just getting started on this island. And it will allow our island to get back to growing and sustainability. That's what's most important. Please, I urge and implore you, and I've been up here several times, and yet the message seems to be diluted. Listen to the constituents, because this year, above all, they're going to come out and vote. That's number one. All of you, without exception, have had some good ideas. However, as a citizen, I believe you've lost your way. You've made this personal, and as public officials, you should not. It should never be that way. It's about the citizens. And what's interesting is each one of you are citizens of this island. So you're fighting actually against yourself, because after you retire from your service as city council, as mayor, You've got to go back into the community, so you're fighting with yourself. It makes no sense. It's time to re-empower and start by re-empowering. The gentleman who has come in as the new interim fire chief, he is well qualified. He is nationally respected. He has taken the time. He is committed to living in our community. He will be a citizen for a short period of time or maybe longer, depending on his wife, that is. And help him heal the fracture between fire and police, the administration and the community. Empower the employees to be employees. That's why they are here. They are here to serve everybody in our community. Allow them not to fear, as my wife stated, retaliation for speaking up. That's a big no-no. And let them provide the creative ideas towards growth. The people sitting at that table, that's their responsibility. Help us to grow and sustain in a proper way. When you all leave, they're still sitting there. Think about the legacy you're about to leave. Empower our neighbors and visitors to come to this community and enjoy the beaches and the businesses. So the end here is that you must continue to foster and nurture relationships, whether you're going to continue on council, whether you're leaving council, going back into the community, whether you're running for mayor, for the next government coming in November or being elected in November, coming in January. Hear this loud and clear. Just like they say, voices do matter. In this case, citizens' voices matter. We will not let anything happen to this island that has happened in the last several years. It's time to heal. It's time to come back. The voices will be heard. So for those who are running, thank you for running. Those who have served, we've had our differences, but thank you for your service. And I wish everybody Godspeed and health. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Hearing none, we're moving on. Consent agenda. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Approval of previous meetings minutes of regular council and special meeting. Approval of FY22 millage rate, which is no property tax increase. Approval of amount not to exceed $10,000 for the purchase of beach wheelchairs for ADA compliance. Discussion of consideration of marine unit agreement with Charleston County Sheriff's Office. Approval of purchase of 2 patrol SUVs for the police department. And approval of transition from our weapons from 40 caliber to 9mm dry air motion. Motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, I believe the agenda I'm looking at is C says approval of an amount not to exceed 25,000.
Old agenda.
Is this the whole one?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not in there. That's,
Correct.
this one is correct. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just one other quick comment on the 10,000 for the beach wheelchairs. It's not for ADA compliance, it's for going above and beyond ADA accessibility.
We are leading the way.
That's right.
Okay, do I hear a motion? Motion to approve.
Second.
Do I hear a second? Any discussion? Oh. Hearing none. Nicole?
Councilmember Pounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Councilmember Moy.
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Popson.
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
All in favor?
Thank you very much. Moving on, reports from standing committees. Ways and Means is up first.
Thank you. Amy, if we can do financial results, if you don't mind, on the screen. This is in your packet. These are financial results through August 31st. The revenue for the year to date is just under 1.5 million, expenses just under 2.1. Our revenue and expenses are in line with prior years, with the exception of rental license revenue. We had Debbie reminded us last month or last week that we had the South Carolina State Business License Tax Standardization Act that will cause a timing difference on some of our receipts on rental license, but nobody will pay any more or less. It's just a leveling out from a tax standpoint. We did receive the $500,000 in county A-tax pass-through funds related to fiscal 21, and that'll be accrued back to our fiscal 21 year revenues. In September, we also closed on the lease for the new fire engine and equipment, including $287,000 in self-contained breathing apparatus equipment. Total was $875,000 for 10 years at a rate of 1.6%. We have, city received assessment information from Charleston County for 2021 property tax bills. Mayor just mentioned we did not have a tax increase. Our assessed values increased by approximately 2%. City has about just under 27 million in cash deposits. About 5 million of that is unspent bond proceeds, and about 9 million are restricted for tourism-related expenses. Questions on the financial report? Yes, sir.
If I remember correctly, the total assessed value, Mr. Chairman, was $4.5 billion in Wild Palms,
In property,
the property.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty
I think
interesting.
that's right, yeah.
The assessed value usually in most, a lot of cases is less than fair market value.
Right.
Just encouraging. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mayor, we've got 3 items to consider, and then I'll do a minutes review from our Ways and Means meeting last week. The first one, I'll make a motion approval of an amount not to exceed $25,000 to engage an executive recruitment firm to assist in the fire chief hiring process.
Second.
So Mayor, can I just make a couple of opening comments and
Yes,
then
sir, you
open it
may.
up for discussion?
Absolutely.
So we talked about this at Ways and Means last week, and this is really an item for support of our city administrator to help her in doing due diligence and interviews and resume checking and reference checking. It is a lot of work. Remember when we went through this the last time, it was 70-ish, I think, applications. Got down to 10 finalists. That is a lot of work to go from point A to point B with that many candidates involved. So I hope you'll support this item. Again, it's really about supporting Desiree and making sure we have a good process involved with getting the right candidate. So Mayor, that's it.
Okay, anyone else? Comments? I'd like to make one comment.
Sorry, can I do one more?
Oh,
Sorry.
I thought you were asking.
Oh, I was done, I thought.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
just a reminder, this is an unbudgeted item for our fiscal 22 budget. We've got plenty of room in our general fund where we have either openings or other expenses that we're not going to entail. So again, it is unbudgeted, but we've got room in the budget to take care of it. Sorry.
Thank you. You know, for our audience out there, when we do a consent agenda, it means when everybody is unanimous. This was voted on the last time. It was not unanimous, so it's coming back up for a vote again. So if there's hearing any other comments? I voted against it. The reason I voted against it was I wanted to give the new interim chief time, 30 days, to kind of get a feel for the fire department. And that's the only reason I voted against it, but I just want everybody to know that. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, as I mentioned last week, I don't want to throw more on Desiree than she already has, but Desiree is very capable of interviewing and going through the process for the new chief. We've got a wonderful public safety committee and personnel committee that could give us input. And again, to just mirror what you just said, we have a new interim chief that after he spends some time could give us a little bit of help as well. So I just don't understand why we need to spend the money for a third party.
Anyone else? Okay, Nicole.
Councilmember Bill, Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
All right.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Nay.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Nay.
Mayor Carroll.
Nay.
Motion passes 6-3.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Second
then you
item.
want-
Yes, sir. Thank you. Second item, discussion of implementation plan for adjustments per wage and compensation analysis for residents that weren't on Ways and Means last week. We've been going through a wage and comp study for all positions in the city for about a year. Our consultant that we've been using outside to help us through this process, we have all the numbers back, and we looked at that in some detail last week, and we were hoping to have some analysis. The takeaway from last week's Ways and Means meeting was to do some analysis on current year budget as well as future year budgets once we make these changes based on new comp data. So preliminary data, we look like we're in good shape from a current year budget standpoint, from an expenditure process, which should also mean our future year should be okay as well, because our current year salary adjustments, which we put a placeholder in for the wage and comp study, there is a placeholder, so it's also in our forecasting for future years. Mayor, if you're okay, we're not quite ready to put a stake in that ground just yet. We'll bring it back for October Ways and Means and Council for final conclusion once we can finish the analysis, if that's all
And I
right.
think we're all excited about this.
Yeah, Desiree.
I just want to update you all. We did finish the forecast just right before this meeting, and I don't like sharing information with you all at the last minute without any explanation. So I'll be emailing this to all of you either tonight or in the morning, so that you have an opportunity to digest it and look through. But just like Councilmember Pound stated, the FY22 budget included $303,000 for adjustments citywide. Therefore, we have some money that has been forecasted out to sustain these adjustments. Based on our preliminary assessment, it looks like the city will be able to implement the recommendation that you in the last week's packet we called Hybrid 2, which is the option that assumed a current penetration of all employees capped at midpoint and a step placement based on tenure for police and fire, which is what they have requested. That in FY22, it's something that we'll be able to implement without any impact to the budget. Forecasting it out, we're looking at an approximately $150,000 more than what we're forecasting. So it is, that's part of the reason I want you all to have some time digesting this, and I still haven't digested it fully right before this meeting, but that's preliminary what we're looking at. I did mention to Councilmember Pounds that we have a meeting with the Evergreen team tomorrow. And one of the things that I'm looking at is ensuring that the impact to our entry-level positions, particularly in police and fire, which is where we have the most turnover issues and recruitment issues, that we may be in a position to do a little bit even more than what the just staying at market. If we can exceed that and redistribute some funds to be able to do that, I think that would be consistent to the philosophy that you all have discussed in the past of making sure that we take care of some of those positions first. So that's, we're going to have that discussion tomorrow, and I'll share that with all of you. But we're really looking at making sure that the impact is it's felt, for lack of a better term, in police and fire, and these positions that we have a lot of trouble recruiting and keeping.
So Mayor, to your point, it's critical that we get this right, and we just need some more time to do it, but we'll be ready for a decision in October.
Defer to John.
Well, I was just going to make one comment, because it's been a long process, painfully long, for as much as it's painful for us. I know it's even more painful for the city staff who are waiting to hear the results of the analysis. And to Ms. Nessler's point, that we know that our staff is not paid as competitively as they should be. And so the point I want to make, though, is the reason we're drawing this out is because we're trying to maximize the impact. We're trying to put as much toward this as possible and give it the most long-lasting positive benefit to the employees. We could do a knee-jerk reaction. We already had the 300,000 budgeted. We could just say, great, we got 300,000, let's just allocate it. We know that we could do more, and so we're trying to figure out the most we can do that will have, again, that really long-lasting impact and maximize it. And so we're taking a little bit longer on the front end, a month, 2 months, to make sure that we do that versus just moving forward as quickly as possible to get something in. It's more important that we get it right than we do it super, super fast.
Yes.
Just to add to that, comments were made when we were doing this in personnel committee that this is not just a point in time change. This is a change in the way that we set process up for continuance. Desiree, when's the last time a salary study was done in the city? Over 10 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think a little bit more Yes, and we have had situations where we've taken care of internally some departments, but I believe it's over 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly long period of time. It's long overdue. That's job descriptions, that's pay levels. So this was, with Chief Cornett, we've had this conversation in Personnel Committee to give police and fire the tools to retain and recruit, knowing that it's a difficult place to get to geographically, that people are coming in from, an hour away coming to work, that we've got to be at or above the market across all sectors of public safety. So for those that might think we're not looking at this seriously and don't understand the issue, this has been an incredibly in-depth conversation. And frankly, I think it's going to leave the city in a much better position because we have 6 openings in the police department right now, unless he's filled some in the last week. So it's a tough market across the country right now, and we have to be able to retain the best people. And I think we all get it sitting up here.
No one else? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate all the work that has gone into this. And just as I've said in the past, I want to make sure that we're not just getting up to speed, but that we're getting out front and that we are fully aware of the wage escalation that's going on, that doesn't quickly overtake what we do in this moment. So fully support where you're headed and hope that it will make a difference in our recruiting and retention because the city is a great place to work. And we also need to make sure that people are being paid what they're worth. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
One more item, Mayor, and then we'll go through the minute review. Discussion of alternatives for the allocation of 30% of the ATAX funds collected that must be used for advertisement and promotion of tourism currently managed by the Charleston Visitors Bureau. In the packet, in the Ways and Means minutes from last week, we had Ray Burns, who was chair of the ATAX committee, come and give a presentation and really just an update on the work that's been going on with that committee for the last number of months. They have been talking to CVB, the Visitors Bureau. They've been talking to Folly Beach, other communities that have done different things with regard to this ATAX 30% number. A lot of conversation last week. Again, it's detailed very well in the minutes. I think, this committee is not ready to come to council with any type of solution at this point, because I don't think there's division amongst the committee. But I think the vision that this group is working towards is continuation of funding of the CVB, just not using all the money, have some type of dual effort, if you will, from a direct marketing organization. So more to come. There's more meetings going on with the CVB later this month with the ATAX committee, additional research to be done. And then I think they hopefully will be ready to make a recommendation to council.
Philip, would
Yes,
you
sir.
kind of fill us in maybe for our audience sake, what we paid out last year to CVB, what Sullivan Zone paid out last year, what Folly Beach paid out last year? Because I think we all get about the same amount of advertising. Can you have a breakdown on that?
Yeah, so IOP, I'll use rough numbers. Debbie, don't shoot me. It's just a rough number. We'll pay about $700,000 in our fiscal year we just finished. Upcoming year, closer to 800,000, rough numbers. I think Sullivan's is 5, if I remember right, and Folly is 25. Thousand, sorry.
6,000.
I got that right.
Yeah.
$5. And Folly, part of why the ATAX committee has been spending a fair amount of time with them is they have set up their own direct marketing organization, hired a local firm to do website, direct, whatever, whether it's mail, email, digital, whatever type promotion for their island. So Mayor, does that answer?
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because I think, we all know that our June, July, and August months were filled. But we have 9 other months that we could probably do better advertising and have more money come in to help everybody in our businesses.
Yeah.
So is this something we're looking at? And I appreciate you filling in those.
Yeah,
blanks.
and I think the ATAX committee has done a great job in just approaching this, trying to get the facts, trying to get alternatives, before they come to council and make a recommendation. I stated last week, and I still think this, I think our longer term strategy needs to be lobbying Columbia to reduce the 30% number. I think that it probably made sense, 20 plus years ago when it was put in place and you're trying to build a brand and you're trying to build awareness for this place to be a destination area. But to your point, now that given our occupancy rates and numbers, I think we need a different path going forward personally for Isle of Palms, but more to come.
Maybe we can do an infomercial where everybody can go back and watch last week's Ways and Means Committee meeting and listen to Ray Burns' presentation and what he had on the board. I think it's an eye opener for everyone. So please go back to YouTube, like our City of Isle of Palms, and watch last week's Ways and Means meeting. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Rusty, do you have?
Yeah, I did. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I thought it was a compelling presentation that Ray Burns did last month, and a lot of great information. And I thought that the concerns that they expressed to the CVB CEO, Helen Hill, were well-founded. I know she's coming back to that October 27th meeting with her ideas as to what they can do to better support us, and we really appreciate that. I was reading an article earlier today where South Carolina really in tourism is outpacing the Mid-Atlantic states by, I think it was, I'm guesstimate here now, but we were at like 13.8% and the Mid-Atlantic was at 8.8% versus last year, same amount of time. And part of the article too was talking about the mayor of Myrtle Beach, Brenda Bethune, and some of the things they're doing in Myrtle Beach to put in place fall festivals, all sorts of things going on, much like what we're doing, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair, and to try to get more involvement. And, and it looks like that's promising also some of the things that they're putting in place to try to draw more off-season business. I think really one of the most compelling things for me with Ray's presentation was the ability to take the DMO, maybe split it up and have really the focus of CBB being more on an off-season group business they can bring into Wild Dunes and places like that, so that during those winter months, we may be able to get some more attraction for our short-term rentals and also the group rentals up in Wild Dunes. So looking forward to what they come up with.
Good. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I would chime in on both of your points. I think we are well past being the need to spend 30%, a random number that was selected many years ago of our accommodations money that is coming in. That needs to be addressed so that we could better spend that money to make sure that visitors and all visitors and residents can better enjoy their experience here on the island by addressing needs like drainage and other infrastructure. So totally agree with that point, and also agree that maybe a hybrid spending model where we develop our own organization to best represent the goals and needs of the Isle of Palms specifically, but also potentially work with the CVB on other goals. I think that deserves some serious consideration, and hope to hear more. I think this is an important topic for us.
Great.
Thank you.
And Mayor, to your point, it's a lot of money. I mean, almost 800,000 this year in this coming fiscal year. It's a lot of money that we just need to be thoughtful about and make a good decision on. So, Mayor, sorry, it's a long report tonight. Ways and Means minutes. We had our regular meeting last week, Tuesday, September 21st at 6 p.m. We had a financial review from Debbie. We had a capital projects report from Desiree, and that is in your packet. I'll just hit a couple of highlights real quick from some of the major projects going on the island. The marina restaurant renovation, hopefully you've all seen significant progress outside and inside. I think that we're still about a week out from inspections, if that date's still about right. Work on the overhead sprinkler HVAC system to begin shortly. Again, significant structural changes and upgrades also made recently if you've been down there. One of the findings in a site visit recently from Director Carr and Desiree is the news that structurally and just the way the building's laid out, there was not going to be an elevator. And Rusty, I think you may have more of an update on this when we get to real property.
Mr. Chair, yeah, I'm going to speak to that with the real property.
Okay,
update.
perfect. I'll let you have it then. The Marina Docks rehabilitation, really good progress there this week. I don't know if anybody's been down yesterday or today, but all of the charter docks are gone. New docks have been placed in the water for the most part at this point, along with the gangway. So really, really good progress there. The pump out is operational, which will be good news to some that have need of that use. Our fuel dock is still causing us some concern from a timing standpoint. Structural Marine, who is a dock manufacturer, continuing to seek alternative products available for this is the fuel hut and platform that's going to be on. So that's coming out of Canada, and just due to ongoing supply chain issues, they're having troubles meeting our timeframes on that, but more to come. Keep our fingers crossed. Phase 3 drainage. Again, good progress here. Pre-bid meeting happened last week on September 24th. Bid opening will happen mid-October, so some good progress with regard to the 30th and 36th outfalls. Remember, 41st will be another year out, just based on the number of permits that we had to get. Phase 3 drainage, small internal projects. Most of those are done. You've noticed 41st is closed to finish up that last little piece on the 5th project that we had over the last year with that. And our overhead to underground conversion of electrical lines, no update with regard to that. Mayor, we did talk about an update on the American Rescue Plan and funding allocation. We've done everything we need to do. The states received the money. Hopefully we'll get our share of that in fairly short order. Desiree's also put a request in to Senator Campson and Representative Bustos for some of the other infrastructure money that sits at the state level, the $8 billion. We've requested $4 million of that for drainage projects on the island. So I don't know of our timing on when we'll hear anything. Desiree, do you? I mean, I would have thought we'd already had the American Rescue money at this point, so who knows?
Yeah, well, the General Assembly's hasn't convened yet, so I think we'll have to wait and see how they start divvying up the state portion. I know Accelerate SC have been working on some recommendations to the governor and to the General Assembly, so we'll keep our eye out on that as well.
Thank you. Mayor, last item, next meeting of Ways and Means is Tuesday, October 19th at 6 p.m.
Okay, great. Any questions? Hearing none, moving on. Public safety.
Public safety meeting was held September 1st. Council members Bell, Pounds, and Ward were present. We had an update from Deputy Chief Hathaway that we did have an increase as expected, rising calls in July and August since we came out of a COVID year and into a stellar year, frankly, of visitation. We had 156 calls for service, which 2 were fire, 73 EMS, 20 rescues, notably locating a missing child, some motor vehicle accidents. We did have an award and presentation to firefighter Puck Hauber at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon on August 19th, recognizing his life-saving efforts in response to a very serious golf car accident we had on Palm Boulevard. In August, there were 114 calls for service, up 12% from 2020. Deputy Chief Hathaway pointed out we had 2 letters of commendation in the meeting packet. So congratulations to those. And also stated that they've not noticed, and we keep asking this question in each of the Public Safety Committee meetings, not noticed any remarkable impacts from the restriping of the connector, because we've been trying to pay particular attention when you have a 4-foot wide emergency lane instead of a 10-foot wide that we used to have. Is it having an impact? Nothing notable to report on that. In the police department, Chief Cornett reviewed the stats, 1,363 calls for service, 1,486 parking tickets, and 22 coyote sightings. Our coyote sightings have been up fairly significantly this year, but we are kind of working in a public-private partnership with the residents because we can't trap on private resident land without the permission of those residents. So as opposed to the prior efforts of the city where we were out putting traps that were yielding nothing more than a few raccoons here and there. Chief, how many so far? 6, 8? 7. I was close, just average. Yeah, 7 coyotes removed. There are, as I stated earlier, 6 open positions in the police department. The chief had noted there were 2 in pre-academy. We have had a significant increase in DUI arrest. We had 8 arrests in July and more in August. And animal control had 63 calls for service. In August, 1,013 calls for service with 55 arrests, 248 parking tickets, 12 coyote sightings, 10 DUIs, 3 weapons violation, 7 marijuana charges, and 3 charges for controlled substances. Of note, there were 75 service calls for animal control. I would point out, it's come up in some of the new candidate discussions, in the back of every Public Safety Committee packet is some pretty detailed analytics and heat maps indicating where we having the incidents. You know, are there more at Front Beach, more at Wild Dunes, or, you know, where the locations of these incidents are occurring. We continue to have, and we'll hand off probably to the next council, discussion of dog leash rules and enforcement. So we've been through discussions of what can we do, where are our fines? So we have a $500 fine amount for dog-related offenses that were passed by City Council, which brings the total ticket maximum to $1,087.50. What we don't have in place in the community that we're looking to address is we don't have definitions around vicious animals. We don't have anything, you know, sort of subjective views of what somebody witnesses as what constitutes a vicious animal. So as a committee, we instructed staff to bring back the draft ordinance addressing vicious animals to the October committee meeting, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Discussion of speeding on the avenues. Secretary Hall was asked what we could do to consider lowering the speed limits on the island across the board. We do not have standard 25-mile-an-hour speed limits on all the interior roads, and it's something that I believe we're going to continue to work with Secretary Hall to try to address. I think many of us on council were surprised to find out, lacking signs, that we have 30-mile-an-hour speed limits in the interior roads. So, trying to go through this kind of quickly. We did put in on a 90-day trial the stop sign on 41st. As somebody that lives on 41st, I will tell you, it is significantly different now than it was when it wasn't there. And we do collect the data from the signage. And the last data, and I would ask for this again for the next committee meeting, is 98, 96% of the people are doing no more than 5 miles per hour over the speed limit. The maybe unexpected consequence, I've had numerous parents, one of which is sitting in the audience, thanking me, because what you don't realize is that intersection of Wildwood and 41st is the main path for children from the interior of the island to go to the marina. So just having that ability for children, not only that, it's a bus stop, to feel safer as the parents watch them. And somebody sent me a picture of their kids crossing the road. I've not had any complaints. I've had nothing but thank you for getting a stop sign put there. And hopefully at the end of this trial period, that sign will remain. Update and discussion of the study of the modifications on the IOP connector. I don't know if anyone noticed, there were some changes this year to the connector. The last discussion, I would ask Desiree if there's more to add, but this will be on the next Public Safety Committee agenda as well. There is data being collected on the constant, right? What we don't have is defined what we're going to do with that data. And we had an incredibly difficult time finding a third party in South Carolina that wasn't tightly connected to SCDOT. That's their biggest customer. So we wanted to have, just like we have with the Insight Group for the construction projects, but we want to have somebody looking at what Senator Campson and Secretary Hall had said, you know, we'll do a study for the connector. We'll bring that forward. Not that we don't trust the state. I'm saying it a little tongue in cheek. We want to have some oversight to that data and what it means to us and how the interpretation of that is. And I don't think, I've had several folks reach out to me recently asking, have we made any progress beyond that? I don't think we have. I think we're still in the process of talking to that third party firm and hopefully getting some direction as to how we use the data that's being collected. Desiree, you said where we're at?
Yes, we have had follow-up conversations with SCDOT staff to try to articulate what the scope of work will be. and provide the city an opportunity to verify that and ensure that when we answer what does success look like at the end of this study, that it covers the topics and the issues that we that are important for this community. Obviously, the main point will be studying and doing a comparative analysis of the existing conditions, the existing and new modifications, the previous ones, and any proposed new solutions. Some of the things that we have talked about at the staff level is evaluating the feasibility of installing reversible lanes and how that would work. Not only from an operational perspective, but what kind of infrastructure is necessary. Some of the other things that we have talked about looking at through this study is the feasibility of only having one side of a bike lane and pedestrian lane on only one side rather than in both sides, and try to see if we can accommodate a center lane doing that way. So that's what we're doing. We actually met with it DOT this week to continue to work through what that scope of work would look like. It'll be articulated and distributed to council and certainly to public safety to have an opportunity to chime in there. But yeah, that's the update I would add to what you've already stated.
Okay, so expect to be on the next public safety committee agenda. Ongoing discussion of the enforcement of golf cart regulations. Chief Cornetta said that internal adjustments been made to allow them to more easily track golf cart violations. I think all of us on public safety committee recognize that we still have a lot of underage driving of golf carts. We've had accidents. And, you know, I've encouraged that we start looking at, are they registered? Are they insured? Or are they just being left, you know, in a lot of cases in rental homes without guidance to the community? And part of this effort is to get the information out through city events, letting people understand, frankly, that your children are not allowed to drive golf carts without a driver's license. We had further discussion. Councilmember Ward made a motion to, well, I'm not sure if we're doing this here or not, again, because it's on the agenda, but to allow beer and wine to be served at the conclusion of the IOP connector run.
That is listed under item 9, proclamations, resolutions, so you can take action at that point.
Okay, we'll do that. Moving on, we had a discussion in consideration of Marine Unit agreement with Charleston County Sheriff's Office. So lengthy discussion in Ways and Means. I don't want to drag that whole discussion back through, but the county has in essence cooperated with our local police, both in the training effort of 6 officers that will be Marine trained, and it will be a shared boat provided by the county, will be responsible for the maintenance on an ongoing basis, but to give us some water safety capability and response capability in concert with Charleston County. Chief, I don't know if you want to add to that, or I would encourage anyone. We had a rather lengthy discussion in Ways and Means on this subject as well.
Sir.
Yes, please.
Chairman, I just want to point out that in the meeting, I reminded everybody I'm a Coast Guard veteran, and I did search and rescue for years in the state of Florida. And having this unit down in the marina is a really big deal for me, because it's all timing when it comes to search and rescue. In a matter of minutes can mean the difference between life and death. I'm hoping that next year in the budget session, we will consider putting a lift down there so we can have the boat ready to go at all times. And that's what I'm confident. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And the add-on to that is our marina lease with Marina Joint Ventures does obligate the provisioning of a boat slip down there. So to Councilmember Ward's point, and it's the right point, you don't want the boat sitting in the water. If we're going to do this, it really should be a budgeted lift to provide the best service we can in the maintenance of that craft. So with that passed as well, we had consideration also of 2 patrol SUVs for the police department, which is also was part of the Ways and Means agenda. And we had the consideration of transition from 40 caliber pistols to 9mm caliber pistols, both as an item of change, but also an item for cooperation with the other departments so that we're consistent with the other mutual agreements that we have. We just had a discussion on the update on the hiring process for the fire chief, and we welcome our interim fire chief into the meeting, who's in the back of the room today. And with that, the next Public Safety Committee meeting is Thursday, October 7th at 3 p.m.
Do we, yes, ma'am.
Susan, please.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. Our city administrator mentioned when we were talking about the connector, that I believe the possibility or that you're looking at a reversible lane. And I wonder if you could also look at the possibility of just having, of having 2 lanes permanently going off the island. And I think that that could help resolve some safety issues because of the backup that develops when we have our big weekends. That is in itself a large safety issue. And it happens when everybody wants to leave the island at the same time. Fortunately, people come onto the island at different times throughout the day, but frequently they're leaving, especially if there's a rainstorm, as we all know, at the same time, creating a safety situation. So if there is a way to find 2 lanes going off, maybe that might also be a viable option. Thank you.
Desiree, not to protract that, but the mayor's also been involved with surrounding communities. And, you know, probably the most significant change this year was the timing of the light at Rifle Range Road, Rifle Range Road. So there's been some proactive work on behalf of the local mayors to try to address the broader issue that we have. I think the main thing, a little bit spooky, but SCDOT actually can track based on GPS locations of cell phones and things. They know how fast people are going, what the average speeds are. They know the traffic backups and delays. We've just never had the cooperation with them up till now of trying to work together and say, you know, look, you know, at the end of the day, people are coming to the beach. Now, how do we get them here safely and home safely while, you know, maintaining the quality of life for the residents of the island? Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions? Okay, great report. Moving on. Public Works.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me, Desiree?
I can.
I'll make sure. Public Works Committee met at 4:30 on Wednesday, September 1st. First thing we did after reading the minutes, and there were no citizens' comments, we had department reports. Report on drainage work was done in August. The assistant director said that the project at 34th and Harton is complete and working well. Gulfstream is cleaning up around the smaller and internal project areas. It was reported that the assistant director attended a meeting about the plan for ADA improvements at 34A beach access. Councilmember Streetman thanked Public Works for the hard work in response to the sinkhole at 41st Avenue. He also commended them for their work in collecting yard debris. Old business, we had an update on Phase 3 drainage project, small internal projects, and Waterway Boulevard path elevation. Director Carr reported that Thomas and Hutton plan to release the big package for the first part of Phase 3 drainage project on September 7th. He hopes all permits will be in place by then. He believes that the Public Works Committee will be able to review the bids and make a recommendation to City Council at the October meeting. We had an update on island-wide drainage master plan, RFP. Director Carr said that the contract with Davis & Floyd for the master drainage plan is currently being reviewed and expects to be signed soon. Had an update discussion on potential solutions to drainage ditch erosion issues. It was, the director said this is still in the hands of the city attorney, and we'll have an update next month. Item D is an update on the Environmental Advisory Committee. All appointees been notified. The first meeting is being scheduled for Monday, October 11th. This is an action item. I'd like to make a motion to recommend Councilmember Susan Smith as the council liaison to the Environmental Advisory Committee.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah.
The first meeting is scheduled for October
11th.
14th.
Well, it was,
Oh,
back then it was the 11th.
okay. The Environmental Advisory Committee is meeting on the 14th of October.
Back then, during the meeting, it was the 11th, but it's been since changed.
Okay.
Just-
Totally noted. Thank you.
Just one quick question. I'm assuming that'll be reappointed at the conclusion of the term.
Yes, correct. So as you all consider appointments and nominations for other boards like CARDA and the CVB, this would be included at that point as well. So in December special meeting, the council-elect and those council members that carry over will be making nominations and then voting on it in
So
January.
she needs to get a lot done in a very short period.
So, well, yeah, I'll just say thank you, and I'm incredibly excited to meet with this group of people who bring such expertise from out of the gate to this committee. So I'm looking forward to seeing them get a lot done. Thank you.
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor?
Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. Congratulations, Susan. Next item, update and discussion of golf cart path along Ocean Park Plaza. The director said there's no update at this time. Adding more work is needed with SCDOT. This is one of the projects that I'm working hard on and working to get this accomplished. And just advice to the new council, if you want to get something done, keep it on the agenda and keep pushing and pushing and pushing until you achieve it.
Like,
Because if you don't, it will never happen.
like dog.
Dog. Okay. Then we have new business, discussion of litter-related ordinances, enforcement and messaging. Councilmember Smith reported that the CBP has put together an educational campaign about litter-related ordinances for each beach community. Again, Councilmember Ward said issues should remain on the meeting agenda. Item B, discussion of adding bins to share left behind beach toys. Councilmember Smith says she would like the city to consider placing bins to collect and share left behind beach toys at appropriate areas along the beach, similar to what Wild Dunes currently has. But Director Pitts expressed concern about putting bins at the front beach, as the bins may end up coming places where people dump trash. Then we have consideration of final approval of drainage easement revisions at 2305 Waterway Boulevard. This is an action item, and if I may, I'd like to call on Douglas at this time to explain it. And Desiree, you're welcome to chip in.
Douglas wants to.
So this is a relocation of a drainage easement that had historically run through the middle of a property. This owner took it upon themselves to want to relocate the pipe and the drainage easement on to the edge of the property to make the middle of the property more usable. It's been through a fairly lengthy process of getting preliminary approval, then a technical review and an engineering approval. They've now constructed it. That construction has been reviewed and inspected by Charleston County for technical compliance. And they're now kind of at the finish line where we have basically everything we need, with the exception of a maintenance bond and a final plat that will be signed off on, and that'll actually be the instrument that moves that easement. So we're kind of now at the finish line where they've gone through all the necessary steps, gotten it to the end of the road, and this is really to tidy that up, would allow the staff, once we have the bond and the plat sign off on it, it gets recorded, and it'll finalize that process and close the loop.
So Desiree, is this something we need to go ahead and act on as a council tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we hear a motion?
It's a motion to recommend final approval of the drainage easement revisions at 2305 Waterway Boulevard.
Second.
That was the second. Any discussion? Hearing none?
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor?
Okay, then we had miscellaneous business, which there was none. And the next meeting of the Public Works Committee will be held Wednesday, October 6th at 4:30 p.m. Therein lies the end of my report. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any questions?
I just have one
Yes,
comment about the left behind toys. I think that we should be able to work that out to make that concept viable without there being concerns about it being used as a trash bin.
You're saying that when Donnie's not here. so.
Yes, we'll work it out.
Okay, good. Okay, moving on. Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll just warn you all that I left my glasses in the car, so this will be extra fun report. But the Recreation Committee met on September 13th with all members present, as well as our city administrator and our Recreation Director, Paige, who gave us a report. As you might expect during the fall, we have adult athletics, including 3-on-3 basketball, 6x6 soccer, and table tennis. They are all in full swing. However, there is no softball league this season due to low registration and lack of staff to score the games. There may be a winter or spring league. Otherwise, we also have classes going on that are active, including dog obedience, gymnastics, line dancing, little lotus yoga classes, meditation, and a range of exercise classes. We're also looking at, we have a new yoga instructor that I understand has been well received. And we're looking at the possibility still of teaching yoga on the beach. So stay tuned for that. In addition, we've had the farmers market has been going great through the summer, and we'll continue with the special farmers market. What is the date of that this month? Because it's not, sorry. Meanwhile, we also have a lot going on in October. That includes Ghostly Tide Tales on October 15th. And as we will have our Halloween carnival, along with the new tradition that we started last year of a Halloween parade, which was also very well received. And I believe that the carnival aspect will be expanded this year, but it will still all be outside. And the farmers market.
Farmers market and movie. We're having a movie after this year. We're showing Hocus Pocus. And that will be October 21st.
Okay, great. And in addition to that, we have the Isle of Palms Connector Run coming up on October 2nd, which is a great cause. Supports children's charities, is done in partnership with the Exchange Club, and is a fantastic opportunity to enjoy the connector and the views as while you're walking and running without the worry of traffic. So I highly encourage you all to get out there and do that, because the weather, I believe, is also going to be fantastic. So let's see, COVID protocols are still in full swing. And hold on just a second. We talked about our pilot program for surfing lessons, which was in its first year. And we are going to continue to look at the results of that at our next meeting. We've had some feedback. I believe we've actually received many comments already from happy parents and grandparents about kids enjoying themselves and learning at the same time. And some feedback already from one of the instructors who has suggested or requested that we consider increasing the size of the groups, which is currently a ratio of 1 instructor to 4, that we think about expanding that. Well, actually, all groups are supposed to be just groups of 4 students with 1 instructor, 1 or more instructors. So they would like to see the potential for expanding the group size. And so if anybody has feedback along those lines. And we talked about trying to return our Sunday gym hours. But again, had some concerns about staffing shortages. I do believe we have made some hires since the committee has met. So that hopefully that will be helpful. But if there are people who really enjoy sports and would like to help out by helping with scores and that kind of thing, and that is a great way to give to your community and make some some extra cash. And otherwise, we're working on our transition to a new online registration program that should be up and running by the end of the year. And we have started a discussion about a carryover note to our next recreation committee that will be appointed for the new year, as our membership will undoubtedly be changing. And our next meeting will be, I think it's October 4th at 8 a.m.
I see a couple of hands going up. Mr. Ward?
Couple people been asking me, I know you don't know at this time, but are you planning at this time to hold Doggy Day again in February? It's a very popular event.
I would think so. Our
Very
our
good. I just
director is
wanted to lay that
nodding yes. Do we have Doggy Day this?
Nope.
Oh, okay. So it would be a return of Doggy Day.
We were unable to get a veterinarian
Yeah.
that would do anything last year, but we had to bring it back, yes.
And that was at a difficult moment with the COVID numbers. So, yeah.
And yes, sir, Mr. Moore.
Just a note, mostly for the public, the surfing ordinance that we placed was a pilot with the automatic sunset clause. So surf lessons as of now will not be able to be conducted next summer unless this council or future council takes action.
And one thing that we will be discussing is whether to continue that, having that renewed every year, or try to make it a more permanent change.
Council member. Yes, Bill.
Make a recommendation. Not that surfing was very controversial and took a really long time to make happen. Can we make it an action of this council so that you all don't have to go through with the next council the pain and angst that we went through to get surfing in place?
It's not on the action item.
Not
tonight,
for tonight. I'm
Right.
just saying before this council leaves, so that you're not re-educating a new council on the trials and tribulations of something as simple as having surf camp.
I think for the number of ex-surfers
Yeah.
and current surfers, I think it'd be a great thing to do for the end of the year.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
The Ghostly Tales, did we mention where it's going to be held? Is it on the beach again?
Okay, good question, because it has been closer to the rec center, but last year it was at Front Beach.
From beach
And so-
again this year.
And it was great last year, no,
Yeah.
so.
It will be again this year.
Any other questions?
questions? One other, I tell you, I look at our director of fun or otherwise recreation center. She pivots with every challenge that comes along and she makes it better and better every time. So hats off to you.
That's what we do. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay,
Sorry.
moving on to personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Personnel Committee met Friday, September 17th at 9 a.m. All committee members and staff were present. Before I get into the agenda, I would like to comment on an action item from the previous month, which was the Leola Hanbury Award. This is an award that we give out each year to an exemplary employee who goes above and beyond the call of duty. We missed 2020 because we usually give this out at the annual appreciation event, which was postponed in the year 2020 due to obvious COVID circumstances. So we actually had 2 awards to give out. Unanimously, Personnel Committee and then Council decided that the acts and service of our entire staff warranted everybody being awarded the Leola Hanbury Award. And so on last Friday at the employee appreciation event that we hold annually, all employees were notified that they were recipients of the award for the exemplary service that we've seen over the last 2 years. Moving on to the actual agenda, we had an update on the wage and compensation analysis report. We've already talked about that a little bit. It's largely moving out of personnel and into to ways and means, because we're talking now about the math of how do we get the most money for our staff. But we'll continue vetting things out in personnel this month and working in tandem with ways and means to get that implemented as soon as possible. We had a discussion for the upcoming vacancies on boards and commissions. We have one of the roles of Personnel Committee is to appoint new members to our Planning Commission, our ATAX Committee, our Board of Zoning Appeals, all of the different committees made up of volunteer community members. We are still waiting for final application dates. And so I believe we'll be reviewing applications in our next month and scheduling interviews for those that need to be interviewed, and then making our recommendations to council for appointments for the 2022 term.
Correct.
Thank you. I'm like, correct me if I say something wrong. We did get an update on succession planning. All of the department heads are working through their detailed succession plans. And Desiree presented us with a very interesting proposal. There's no formal recommendation there was no formal recommendation to personnel. There's no formal recommendation to council, but the discussion centered around utilizing the staff that we have on hand. As you know, the assistant city administrator left the city several months ago. Desiree's been kind of evaluating the structure given the staff that we have. And her recommendation is that we have an incredibly smart, intelligent, knowledgeable employee in our building department manager, that's Douglas Carr. And she felt like we would be well served as a city to appoint him as the deputy city administrator as well as the building administrator. And so she's working on that actual details of that structure to make a formal recommendation to personnel, which would then come to this council, but just planting a seed. We felt like just the reaction from the council was very well received. We were very encouraged in the way that Desiree presented it. Obviously, I'm not doing it justice, but it makes a lot of sense. I'm excited to present the nuts and bolts when we have a formal proposal.
Well, I do want to
And
add,
as other duties as assigned.
I do want to add, so the dual role would allow us the opportunity to hire a zoning administrator who would be in charge of some more of the day-to-day duties that Douglas currently handles in between everything else. So I be making a formal proposal with a zoning administrator job description to the personnel committee for approval and would appreciate everyone's support for that. I do think that it's a good direction for the city moving forward, and I hope Douglas doesn't regret it too much.
Thank you. And then one last note coming from our HR officer, Ladd. Or she was here, right? Anyway,
She had to leave.
she had to leave. Sorry, didn't mean to call her out like that. 'Cause I'm trying to give her kudos. Coming out of the wage and compensation study, she's putting together a very robust, long-term looking human capital management plan, forecasting our staffing needs. So actually, this goes to some of your comments, Ms. Nestler, in terms of looking at our public safety needs as the island grows, looking at that from both a personnel staffing needs as well as a financial needs. And so she's putting together a very long-term, long view looking plan of what we should expect and what future councils should expect to have to do in terms of making sure that we're well staffed. So we expect that plan to be coming out in the next couple of months. I know that's a very robust, difficult study, so it might fall on future council. But I'm glad that she's making progress. And we have a lot of data from our Evergreen Solutions consultants for it. Other than that, the personnel committee is meeting a little bit later this month to make sure that we have time for Evergreen Solutions to get everything in order with the staff. So we're meeting on Wednesday, October 13th. And that's not true. We're doing that because we got a baby coming.
Like soon.
It's like real soon. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we,
personnel is scheduled for the 13th.
the 13th, Wednesday, October 13th at 9 a.m. So ends my report.
John, just for clarity, not all of us have a baby coming. You and your wife have a baby coming.
Takes a village.
Do we have any questions for personnel? I do have one question. Was asked today, current committee and commission applications that are in, are they still kept in the queue for next year?
So when you apply, good question. When you apply for a commission, historically, and I'll have to make sure the city keeps me honest here, city staff, that would be you, Ms. Fregoso. When someone applies for a position and that they don't receive that position in whatever year, typically we reach out the following year and ask them if they're still interested. I don't know if that happened. That's a good question.
Was this asked of me this morning?
Is that the scenario we're talking about? We don't keep applications on hand for 15 years. I think we have kind of have
It's yeah, we're doing 1 year of those that have been on file for a year, but if somebody's still interested, they're more than happy to contact me or submit a new application. That way we know that they're still interested. But we have received additional applications since the personnel committee. I'll be reviewing those as well, in addition to the ones we've already had.
Very good.
Thank you. Good
Anyone
question.
else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I don't for making a habit of
Apologize, that's
commenting.
what we're here for.
I just realized I don't have many meetings left to say what I need to say. But I would think that there's a good argument or practice of diverting more of a larger percentage of our ATAX money towards staffing of our public safety, especially given the addition of our new hotel, which clearly I would think adds more demand or potential demand on our public safety. So anyways, I would just encourage, as you were mentioning, looking at expanding our footprint of our public safety department.
I think we gotta be careful on how we do that because the state mandates on how that money is spent. So, I mean, great point.
Well,
Believe me, I
yeah.
agree.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, the ins and outs of that may be sticky, but,
Yes.
but I think there's some logic there that we could work with to,
Good point. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Hearing none. Moving on to a real slow committee. Doesn't do much. Real property.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So ends my report. We met, Real Property Committee met at 1:30 PM on Monday, September the 13th, and we had all council committee members present, Moy, Popson, and Streetman. And we also had staff present in the persons of Administrator Fregoso and Director Carr. We had no citizens' comments for that day. However, we did have some marina tenant comments that were really from the Marker 116 group, the marina restaurant, better known as. And there were a number of questions that John Bushnell and that group had forwarded to all of us to read into committee. And Desiree was going to address those questions and, and respond to those in writing so that we would have that on record. But it was a number of questions really in regards to shared parking lot down at the marina and what the operating guidelines were for that and some questions that they had with the restaurant group. All of the committee members agreed that clarity on the shared parking agreement is necessary going forward. And I also mentioned in that meeting as well that I would like to have clarity on the residents' parking status at the marina as to whether we would have additional parking that the residents can park at for free. And I think it has to be part of the discussion going forward as we talk about the greater issue of shared parking down at the marina as to what kind of access we can give our residents who actually own the marina that we bought many years ago. So that was our discussion on that. The update on Marina Dock Rehabilitation Project, I'm really not going to speak to that because it was spoken to earlier by the Chair of Ways and Means, and the information I have here is dated anyway, being 2 weeks ago, and our most recent update being the one that Desiree had provided last week during the capital project update. But suffice it to say, I was down there today, and as a number of us were, and the work is going very well, coming along very, very well. And it was good to see that those charter docks were gone and Salmons is moving forward. So we've got some work really happening down there. And also the pump out system did get fixed today. So that was good news also. Update on Marina Restaurant renovation. The last time we met a couple of weeks ago, Desiree did share some photographs of the restaurant's progress. You can see those online if you care to go to the Real Property Committee meeting. And but they're making some really good progress there. And Councilmember Popson also commented, and him being a builder the way he is, he agreed the work was progressing nicely also. So the plumbing work complete, work continues on electrical and HVAC. And Kevin spoke highly of the structure work that's going into the building and said the city is getting a good beefed up product, quote unquote, from Kevin Popson. And so that was
Don't include me in the warranty, okay?
you're on the spot now. So that was the comments we had. Now, since then, we have had one issue I do want to bring up tonight in regards to the Marina Restaurant. And that's the comments that we had a couple of weeks ago in the committee meeting, or I'm sorry, in the Ways and Means Committee last week, that there would no longer be plans for an elevator due to the expense and the structural challenges that were encountered at the restaurant. And that was kind of a surprise for us. We had some discussion around that. And as a result of all of that, I went down and met at the restaurant a couple of, week and a half or so ago with the Marker 116 group represented by Chrissy and Dave Lorenz, and Douglas Carr was along, Desiree was along. And we saw firsthand the issue with the original elevator location that we understood was going to be in the area that they had provided on the plans. And when we looked at that and they walked us through it, you could clearly see how the elevator in the original proposal and drawings can't work in that area because it would compromise the men's restroom with ADA compliance, and it would also create some other issues, and there are some piling issues underneath also. So we're putting our thinking caps on, trying to figure out what's going to happen going forward. And we left that meeting saying, let's get some more ideas. Let's get back together at some point, and I'll cover that in a minute also. But we've also seen that the restaurant plans right now that are in place and the work that's being done are fully AD compliant on that lower level, which is really the second level. You've got the ADA ramp, and there's an 880 square foot shaded deck that's been added. It's also been opened up there too, so there's going to be a wonderful view of the intercoastal waterway and the creek, and on that level also. So that is going to be really nice and something that people will really enjoy. Whether you're ADA compromised or any resident would enjoy or visitor. The menu will also be the same no matter what level you're on. And that, if we ended up not having an elevator, the menu would still be the same on the second level and also the first level. We tried to put together an on-site visit with council members to do a special meeting of council just to see the issues firsthand. I thought it was important that not only that we were looking at them, but that the rest of council had an opportunity to look at what they were encountering and to be able to see it firsthand and ask questions. We haven't been able to do that at this point. We may have to have more one-on-one type meetings, anything that we need to do to stay away from. We've got to have a quorum if we have a special meeting. So if we have to go down to one-on-one meetings, we will do that. One of the things I would encourage all of council to do, and I think this is probably on public record also, is that we just got an email today forwarded by Douglas Carr, and it was some of the information that the contractor for Markers 116 was explaining some of the issues they had in the placement of that elevator. And I think that would be really good information for all of you to read. If you haven't read it yet, it did come in later this afternoon. That would help you better understand what the issues are with the elevator not being placed in that original location. And that being said, the restaurant operators, back when they presented the plan, included an elevator in the presentation and in the plans that were later forwarded and approved by the building department, planning department, Douglas Carr. And really, I think the community has an expectation that an elevator would be included for access to the upper level. So again, we're going to need to be as creative as we can. We need to try to continue to work on this, hopefully get some more information that we could find a way to place an elevator, if not inside, then maybe outside of the building, either, a Lula type elevator, which is a wheelchair lift, or a modular type elevator, something like that. There are other solutions that could be possible. And hopefully we can work on that and see what we can come up with. Of course, that's probably not going to happen before the restaurant opens. And that is the absolute top priority, is opening that restaurant as soon as possible. And the work that they're doing is phenomenal. And it's going to be a great restaurant when they do get it open. So maybe if we can work out a solution for the elevator, we can work out a plan working with Markers 116 group that allows for an elevator to be added in a reasonable time after the restaurant opens, and that it could be located in an area that doesn't require the restaurant to be closed during the construction. So that's where we are on that. It's a pretty complicated issue, and they ran into issues that they had no idea that they were going to run into at that particular time. So I just want to give everybody an update on that. More later. Next item we discussed in our meeting was the update on the proposed public dock in the green space at the Isle of Palms Marina. Of course, we have a holdover tenant there that's being adjudicated, and there really was no real update on that until we get a final solution there as to what's going to happen down there. But we do have plans that we want to utilize going forward for that space that would be for our residents and visitors alike. And update on ADA beach access improvements. We've got a work in progress here also. Desiree had told us that the survey of 34A beach access is complete. They received one bid from a design firm that addresses the engineering of the boardwalk and the drainage issues. And they were waiting to hear from 2 more design firms. I'm sure we're going to get more input on that at our next meeting next week. And we also have, we had a landscape contractor go out and look at the Moby mats. I know Douglas had that taken care of to see if we could extend the mat approximately 50 more feet towards the sea. Still would not get it out of the soft sand, but it would make it a little bit easier for people who are wheelchairs would be able to get down a little further to the beach. So we'll get another update, I'm sure, on that next week. And we're still working with OCRM in about the issue of a code change to allow for further expansion of the Moby mats toward the ocean. We're hoping that we can go even further from the seaward toe in that regard, but that's still a work in progress. And as anything government speaking, it doesn't move fast. So we'll hopefully get some information a little bit later on that. And along with that, we've got Representative Joe Bustos on board to kind of help give us a little extra clout on that when legislature gets back in session, to maybe have some sort of a resolution in place or some legislation in place to try to help us address that issue if need be. And that there was no new business. The next meeting of the Real Property Committee will be held on Monday, October 4th, next week, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. So ends my report, Mr. Mayor.
That's a great report. Do we have any questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Bell.
Yeah, I want to go back to shared parking because I don't know about others, but I'm getting the constant. Why is it that the city invested over $4.5 million in dock improvements, and within the last year and a half, we go down there and are told as residents that we've got to pay to park? So I would encourage the city and Brian Berrigan as manager to understand that there's many of us in the community that feel we made a significant investment in the business down there. And that change to paid parking that took away all residential parking down there, frankly, is unacceptable to the community. And I would ask if Mr. Berrigan would like to come and speak to council, that he should do that, because I don't know about others, but I can't explain when that parking was free 2 years ago, how a change was allowed to make it paid parking, have residents complaining because they're being told they're going to be booted if they don't pay to park. So I think there's 2 issues. One is the restaurant and what they do with parking, but the other one is this community that is contributing significantly to the marina down there and being told that as a resident, thank you for the contribution, but you're going to have to pay if you're going to park to come down here. Completely unacceptable. And I think it needs to be addressed. And if that's the insistence of the marina manager should come to council and explain it to the community so that we're not individually explaining it to the community. Thank you.
Okay, well, there's an open invitation on our agenda each month for marina tenant comments. And I would certainly encourage Mr. Berrigan, if he would like, to come and address that at our next real property meeting. And then we can start that dialogue from there.
Thank you.
Randy, I'm glad you brought it up. I mean, it is kind of a slap in the face to
It is.
keep building this marina, and we get nothing else in return except parking bill. But anyway,
For a
any
boat.
other questions for real property? Hearing none, moving on. Reports from city officers, boards, and commissions. Board of Zoning Appeals minutes are attached. The Planning Commission, the minutes from August 23rd, 2021 are attached. There was no meeting in September. The Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee, the minutes are attached. Reports from special or joint committees, none. I'd like to say I'm glad to see that we have a member of the Water and Sewer Commission here in attendance. Thank you for coming, Jake. Let's see, petitions referred, deferred, disposed of, none. Bills already in possession. Ordinance 2021-12. An ordinance to allow remote special meetings in the event of an emergency, including remote communication, using remote communication technology in case a council member could not be here in person.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd just like to reiterate, like I did last month, that this is something that I felt strongly about and mentioned it earlier, a couple of months ago to the mayor and also city administrator, that we ought to put some sort of contingency ordinance in place to allow this. There are other municipalities, at least one that I can think of, it's the city of Aiken that's done this, and they passed an ordinance, I think, back in February, to make sure they kept that in place to allow the remote meetings. And I also want to reinforce that this would just be under exigent circumstances. It's not something to have a council member bail out of a meeting just on a routine basis because they don't feel well or their hair doesn't look good that day. That sort of thing. It's, this is for circumstances where you may be away and you want to participate, but you can't do it unless you do it by telephone or by computer. This will allow you to take part of those discussions. Or if, heaven forbid, if we had some sort of a calamity or disaster around here where we had to meet remotely somewhere or try to all dial in from a remote location. So we know those kind of things obviously can happen too. So I'm all in favor of it, and I certainly hope that the rest of the council is as well.
Anyone else?
Mayor, you may want to consider waiving the reading.
I'm sorry. Yes.
We need a motion
Do
for
I have a
that.
motion
Yeah, the
to-
motion to approve and
Waiving
waive the
the reading.
reading.
I'll second.
Did I hear that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none? Nicole?
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Cannon.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Hobson,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor?
Thank you very much. Moving on, introduction of new bills, resolutions, proclamations. A, proclamation to reaffirm the city's commitment to work toward a full ADA compliance and its goal to exceed the standards and go above and beyond to ensure that people with disabilities feel welcome in our community. Do I hear?
Motion to approve the proclamation
Second.
Without the reading?
without the reading.
Yes. All right. There was a second?
Second without the reading.
Okay. Nicole?
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Cannon,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Hobson,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor?
Thank you very much. A resolution designating an authorized representative and contact person for the purposes of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Do I hear a motion to approve about the reading?
Motion to approve without the reading.
Second.
Any
Without the reading.
discussion? Hearing none?
Mayor,
Nicole?
just for the record, the authorized representative would be myself as
I'm
the city
sorry, that's the
administrator.
most important part.
And then Debbie Suggs will be the contact person.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Cannon.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Hobson,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor?
Thank you very much. Desiree, you're always just known that. Okay, resolution authorizing the consumption of beer and wine.
Motion approved.
Second.
Second.
Without the reading.
Without the reading. All right, no discussion.
Second.
Nicole?
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
can barely keep up. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Cannon,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman,
Aye.
Councilmember Hobson,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll,
Aye.
all in favor?
Thank you very much. Moving on. Discussion of establishing the Spirit of the Island Award to recognize a remarkable single achievement or action by a citizen of the island, a companion award to the Signal 30 Award. This was asked to be put on the agenda. The Signal 30 Award was something that has been really given. A lot of times we've had people who've saved somebody's lives. We've had some recent ones that, just like the Order of the Palmetto, where people go above and beyond, but there's a lesser award for that. Councilman Ward, would you like to expand on that?
I wouldn't call it lesser, I'd call it different level.
A different level.
I have a short statement to read here. I would like for city council to consider establishing a way to recognize special individuals and or groups by creating a new service award separate from the Signal 30 award. This will be different and on another level. This award will be called Spirit of the Island. It would be specifically established to recognize remarkable single achievement or actions by an individual or group's community service or volunteerism on the island, similar to the state of South Carolina's Silver Crescent Award. South Carolina's highest civilian award is the Order of the Palmetto. The second highest award is the Silver Crescent. What I am proposing will reflect in a similar way what the state is doing. The Signal 30 award will remain the Isle of Palm's highest award, while the Spirit of the Island will reflect the Silver Crescent. And at this time, I'd like to a motion to establish the Spirit of the Island Award and have it referred to Personnel Committee for implementation.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And
Randy, I can defer to you. You had your hand up first. Go ahead.
Either way, I'm not against doing this, but I think frankly, before we send it to Personnel Committee to implement, we should put it Personnel Committee to further define what it is, because my questions are how often, who, what's the process for nomination? You know, the normal things that we would do within Personnel Committee before we just said we're going to go do this. You know, the intent is good, but the implementation probably needs some work. Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Just go to street and then we'll come back to you.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Thank you. Yeah, I did a little research on the Silver Crescent Award, and it really is a really nice award. It was established by Governor David Beasley and when he was in office. And at first it was established for citizens of the state that were under the age of 18. And then right after he left office and Hodges was mayor, then he said, no, let's make it for anyone of any age. And so it was really sort of, as has been mentioned earlier, it's a complimentary award to the Order of the Palmetto, which is the absolute highest honor that any South Carolina resident or citizen can get. And I think, as it goes to the Personnel Committee, or I'm thinking that we ought to at least have some idea of how we put together a committee, screening committee, have some criteria for eligibility on this. Is it who's eligible? I mean, I'm assuming that no one on city council would be eligible. I mean, that's something that we ought to say would rule out of hand and say, now, if you're sending a sitting council person, you shouldn't be eligible. And just have more built around this thing before we actually start fleshing it out in committee. I'm certainly not against it. I think anything that we can get more citizen involvement in terms of commissions, committees, like the Environmental Advisory Committee that we just put in place. I think any citizen involvement we can get on this island that helps them participate in more is a good thing. And I think also just what the image is, or the vision of this particular award is a good one also. If we're going to truly recognize some person or some group that has gone over and beyond the call of duty, so to speak, then I think that's a good thing as well. I looked at the Signal 30 Award. We've had it in place for 20 years approximately. We've had 9 recipients, counting Pete Santa. So that's one every 2 years or so.
Okay, Councilman Ward and then Councilmember Moore.
well, I had another paragraph.
Now you tell us.
Yeah. I didn't want to bore you, but
Okay.
y'all have asked a great question. I hope I can address it now. I suggest the following for your consideration. Any citizen of the island will be able to nominate anyone to receive the Spirit of the Island Award by use of a portal on the city's website. Winners should be infrequent and rare, thereby preserving the uniqueness and value of the award. I propose the selection of winners be decided by an independent panel, in other words, selection committee, consisting of 3 members. Most any island resident, with a few exceptions, can apply to be appointed to this committee. The members will be appointed by an affirmative vote by the majority of city council. Members will serve a term of 4 years. Members cannot be any current city council members, the mayor, or any members of current city boards and commissions. Winners will be recognized at a city council meeting with an award presentation hosted by the mayor and a representative from the selection committee.
Councilmember Moore.
Well, I didn't know, I was following the explanation, but I was merely going to say, are we good to approve this? And this is maybe directed at city staff. Are we good to approve this with the direction that personnel will nail down and lock in all of those kind of protocols around issuing the award? Although it sounds like Councilmember Ward's got us pretty well handled.
Well, typically when there's an action item or an action expected, it's listed on the agenda as an action item, and here it just says discussion. So I think that you all could agree to push it or send it to personnel without really taking action, because it just says discussion on the agenda.
Okay, and Councilmember Moore, get ready for it. Coming at you. Okay, Jimmy, that's a great idea. Thank you very much for bringing it forward to us.
I can remember in the past, we got discussion and then we had an action item in the same meeting. But I'll go along with administrator.
Well, council can vote and change the agenda on a 2/3 vote to provide some action.
I really don't want to push it.
Did you want to rescind your motion?
Yeah, I'll rescind my motion, which is send it to personnel.
Councilmember Popson, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'll rescind my second.
Thank
I
you.
just appreciate you listening to it. Thanks.
It could probably happen still real soon. Okay, moving on. Discussion of and confirmation of the city's mission and vision per the strategic plan. We, the city, have been working with the Joe Riley Center for Livability. Not only has council met with them 2 or 3 times, but different department heads have met with them. The mission statement was to be the most sustainable, family-friendly beach community in South Carolina, which I think we already are. The vision statement, the city of Isle Palm seeks to be a welcoming and resilient coastal community committed to enhancing the quality of life for those who come here to live, work, and play. I think I'm proud of us for taking this forward. And Desiree, would you like to add a little pizzazz to it?
Well, I don't know about pizzazz, but what I'll say, I just want to give you all another opportunity to confirm the vision and mission statement that y'all had discussed at the last workshop. Our goal is to present a full, complete strategic plan based on the meetings and the discussions that we've had, not only at the staff level, but at council next month. But before we finalize that draft, I just, again, wanted to give you all an opportunity to look at the mission and the vision statement, make sure it reflects your desires. And I know that the mayor wanted to mention about the survey that was conducted, that was highly, a lot of people participated in it and clearly validated the goals and objectives that the community had with the goals and objectives that were identified by this policy setting body. So there's a good alignment there is what we saw based on that survey. So just putting it in front of you all for I just need a head nodding. Make sure we're on the right track, and we'll be presenting the report next month.
Desiree, it was actually amazing how close what council was visioning and what the survey came back from the public. I mean, we were spot on in knowing what our residents were looking at. Yes, sir. Councilmember
Just
Bell.
for folks sitting in the audience that might contemplate trading seats and sitting up here, that document is available, the survey data itself. While we don't have a final work product, I would suggest anyone interested in the community as well, look at that, because that is what's going to drive the body of work out of that strategic plan session. And it really is worth taking the time to look at. Our community participation rate in it was very high.
Anyone else?
I have just, I might encourage a more specific mention of protection for our coastal environment. I think that we talked about that being inferred by it being family friendly and I guess we talk about it being resilient, but my personal feeling is we could be a little more point blank about that. And, sorry, go ahead.
Let's be. We were the first coastal community to sign on South Carolina Environmental Law Project to oppose offshore drilling and seismic testing. We were the first coastal community in South Carolina to ban single-use plastic bags and then later cigarette smoking, plastics. I mean, so I applaud this council and the previous councils for being so proactive. So again, and to
Yeah.
you for your Monday afternoon beach pickups. I look at what we're doing and I think we are the leaders in South Carolina. But we can always do more.
Well, I agree, and that's part of the reason why I think maybe a more specific mention in the vision statement might be appropriate.
Great. Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Our next meeting shall be 6 p.m. Tuesday, October the 26th, 2021. And sadly, everyone, executive session. In accordance with South Carolina Code, Section 30-470A2, we need to receive legal advice about a settlement proposal received from Tidal Wave Water Sports in regards to their eviction proceedings. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to go into executive session and Nicole?
And a motion to adjourn, but.
Sorry.
Councilmember Pounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Moy,
Aye.
Councilmember Streetman.
Aye.
Councilmember Popson,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
You're off, all in favor, you're off record at 7:52.
Thank you very much.